Hola clase. Today we will be talking more about E to IE stem changing verbs. We've already learned about pensar, which means to think or to plan, and we'll talk about a couple more today as well. So let's go back to pensar. So pensar is an E to IE stem changing verb, meaning that when you conjugate, you take the E from the infinitive form and you change it to an IE for every one of these conjugations except for nosotros. Okay? So the yo form of pensar is yo pienso. I've taken the E from the infinitive form and I've changed it to an IE. Alright, pienso. That means I think or I plan. Then we have tú piensas. Tú piensas means you think or you plan. And again, I have the IE after the P. Piensas. Then we have the él, ella, usted, piensa. Alright? After the P, I have an IE. This is an IE stem change verb. Piensa. So that's he thinks, she thinks, you think, él, ella, usted, piensa. Then we have the nosotros form. Now the nosotros form gets a little weird. Okay? The E stays an E. You don't put an IE there. So it's pensamos. Nosotros pensamos. We plan, we think. And then the ellos, ellas, ustedes form is piensan. Ellos piensan, ellas piensan, ustedes piensan. We go back to our IE after the P. P-I-E. Piensan. So they think, you guys think, piensan. Also plan, it can mean plan. They plan, you guys plan. So let's take a look at a new verb. So entender means to understand, to understand. And this also is an E to IE stem changing verb. Now this one gets a little more complicated because look how many E's are here. There's an E at the start of the word, there's an E in the middle, and there's an E towards the end. There's 3 E's in this word. Which one do we stem change? Well, the rule is that you always stem change the second to last syllable. Alright? Entender. There are 3 syllables in entender. The second to last syllable is ten, and ten contains an E. So remember, you always stem change the E that is within the second to last syllable. So that means that the yo form of entender is entiendo. Now the IE is right there because I changed that E to an IE. Entiendo. Let me write that a little bit more neatly. Entiendo. You'll notice I'm using my eraser. Okay? Entiendo. Now for the to form. The to form is entiendes. Entiendes. E-N-T-I-E-N-D-E-S. So I have my stem change there. And then it's an ES ending because it's an ER verb. So you understand. Tu entiendes. This is a familiar you. Remember, you use tu if you're familiar with someone. Entiendes. Next, we have the él, ella, usted form. Okay? Él, ella, usted, entiende. Él, ella, usted, entiende. Alright? So there's my stem change right there. I have the IE, and there's an E on the end because it's an ER verb. If this were an AR verb, I'd have an A on the end. See? Pensar, it's piensa. Entender, entiende. Okay? Now let's take a look at the nosotros form. Remember, the nosotros form is always different. It's always different from the rest of the conjugations. And it's always different from the rest of the stems as well. It's really a different conjugation overall. So take a look at this. Nosotros entendemos. Entendemos. Nosotros entendemos. No stem change going on here, and the E-M-O-S ending because we have an ER verb. Now let's take a look at the very last one. What do you think the last one is? Message me on Google Hangouts if you think you know what the very last conjugation is. But if you don't, I'll tell you now. So the very last conjugation is N-T-N, den. N-T-N, den. This is an ER verb, so I have an E-N ending, and I go back to the old stem change here. The I-E is right there. N-T-N, den. Alright, so I've made my E to I-E stem changes. I've made sure that I use O-S-A, amos, N, because it's an ER verb, and I'm done. Let's take a look at another verb. Now we have an IR verb with an IR ending, and this is also a stem changing verb. This is preferir, which means to prefer. Preferir is to prefer. Now, which E do I change here? Do I change this first E here or the second E? Well, think about the syllables. Preferir. Fair is the second to last syllable, so that's the E that I change. I change this E to an IE. So we have prefiero, prefiero. The E from the infinitive form becomes an IE in the yo form. Prefiero, I prefer. Then we have you prefer, prefieres. Prefieres. Now notice this. The conjugations for the ER and IR forms are the same. I have an ace here and I have an ace there. All right? Tu prefieres, tu entiendes. All right? So the IR conjugations are the same, except for the nosotros. Remember, nosotros is always different. We'll see when we get there. But here is the stem change, the IE stem change, and there is the conjugation. All right? So yo prefiero, tu prefieres. What do you think the next one will be? Let's see. Think about it for a little bit. You probably know. It's following this pattern. All right, so we want the el, ella, usted form. The el, ella, usted form is prefiere. 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 And there's my stem change. IE stem change right there from the second to last syllable. And there is my ending conjugation, e. See how they match up? Entiende, prefiere. Even though these words have different endings, one's an ER, one's an IR, they have the same conjugations all the way up until they're no longer the same when you get to the nosotros form. Check this out. So, the nosotros form of preferir is preferimos. Preferimos with an I-M-O-S. And I didn't stem change, all right? So remember, whenever you get to the nosotros form, you really got to stop and think about it because the nosotros forms don't have stem changes and they always match whatever the second to last letter is. They'll always have a part of that second to last letter in the conjugation. So it's imos here is preferir. There's an I in preferir. It's an IR ending. So you use an I in the nosotros form, preferimos. And I didn't change the E to an IE. Alright? Now let's take a look at the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. The ellos, ellas, ustedes form is prefieren. Prefieren. Now I'm back to the stem change. I got the IE stem change going on there. And it's an EN ending. Prefieren. So there you go. Just in case you couldn't really see things during this video, let me hold this a little closer.